Good afternoon. Now we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we get 30 more minutes without rain. So far, so good. Can everyone hear me? Okay. On behalf of the School of Dental Medicine, I would like to welcome everyone to Southern Illinois University's Founders Day celebration at Alton. As you know, we are continuing a week of celebration that began yesterday with the Convocation in Edwardsville. SIUE is 50 years old, and we are very proud to be a part of the history of our university. On July 1st of 1957, classes for the newly established SIUE began here in Alton on the campus of the former Shirtliff College, extending the history of this Alton location as one of the oldest institutions for higher education in the whole state of Illinois. As an example of that, the building to our left, the red brick, Loomis Hall, is celebrating its 175th anniversary this year. In 1969, sometime after the initial educational programs of SIUE had moved to their new campus in Edwardsville, the School of Dental Medicine was chartered, accepting its first students in 1972. Before we move on in our program, I would like to acknowledge some special guests that we have in the audience today. From the administration of SIUE, Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, and he goes first because he's my boss, Dr. Paul Ferguson. Interim Vice Chancellor for University Relations, Dr. Gary Giamartino. Vice Chancellor for Administration, Mr. Ken Neer. And I've heard several comments on how great the campus looks, and we thank Ken for that. Ken and his crew are responsible for our campus. Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Dr. Narbeth Emanuel. Associate Provost, Dr. Sue Thomas. Former Chancellor, David Werner. And Mrs. Kay Werner as well. Thank you. Mr. Bill Simon, SIUE Foundation Board of Directors. Two people who have worked for many years for the university, and in their retirement came back to work again, volunteering countless hours to organize all of the 50th anniversary events. First, the chair of the anniversary committee and Dean Emerita, Dr. Dixie Engelman. And member of the anniversary committee, former SIUE budget director and former student of SIUE on this Alton campus, Mr. Dan Corbett. President Emeritus of the Alton Museum of History and Art, Ms. Charlene Gill. Very pleased to have the founding dean of the SIU School of Dental Medicine, Dr. Frank Zupkowski. Founding faculty member and School of Dental Medicine benefactor, Dr. Cliff Neal. I know you're there, Cliff, somewhere. I don't see her. Hello. Thank you, Dr. Brubaker's daughter. Thank you very much. Dr. Rhonda Green, but I don't see her. She's Vice President of the Alumni Council for the Dental School. School of Dental Medicine Student Body President, Ms. Nicole Vasquez, probably still in clinic with a patient. Okay. And if you're out there, I'd love you to stand up. We did hope that we'd have several alums of Shirtliff College with us today as well. Alums of Shirtliff College? I know Charlene is. Anybody else? Thank you very much. Our first speaker needs no introduction. He is our Chancellor for SIUE, Dr. Von Vandegrift.
Thank you, Ann. Today represents the second major event we are holding in recognition of the 50th anniversary of SIU Edwardsville. We began yesterday with an event on campus that made history itself. And this time we've memorialized it by videotaping it. And if you were able to be there yesterday, you were really blessed. Chancellor David Werner, whose total career has spent 39 years of the 50-year history of SIUE, gave an outstanding representation of how this university has grown and developed over the years. I'd like to acknowledge Chancellor Werner and Kay again for their tremendous contributions to our university. Well, we're going to make a little bit of history here today as well. Today we're going to celebrate a long-standing commitment to this region by two partners, SIUE and the City of Alton. And we're really pleased to have Mayor Sandage on hand today representing the City of Alton and this partnership that through the School of Dental Medicine promotes the vision of the university to be recognized nationally for the excellence of its programs and development of professional and community leaders. Let me take a little bit of time just to talk about the history of this campus. The Alton campus has undergone significant transition over the years. It began in 1832 as Alton Seminary, a Baptist-affiliated theological school. Loomis Hall, now recognized as one of the oldest continuous use education buildings in Illinois, was built to house the entire college. It contained classrooms, administrative buildings, and the library. Alton Seminary became Shurtleff College in 1836, named after Dr. Benjamin Shurtleff of Boston. One of the most famous alumni was Robert Pershing Wadlow, who enrolled in 1938. Mr. Wadlow was nicknamed, thank you, the Alton Giant, and stood 8 feet 11.1 inches, the tallest man in the world. A statue, as you know, in tribute to Mr. Waldo can be found on the grounds of this campus. Now in 1957, just 50 years ago, Shurtleff College was purchased by Southern Illinois University. Initial enrollment on the campus was 1,200, and within 2 years it had doubled. In 1972, after the completion of the Edwardsville campus, the Alton campus was transformed to a branch of dental medicine, enrolling 24 students. 35 years later, today, the School of Dental Medicine has graduated more than 1,400 dentists, most of whom have chosen to remain in Illinois and the St. Louis metropolitan area. The School of Dental Medicine is the only dental school within 250 miles of the metropolitan area and only one of two such schools in the entire state of Illinois. It obviously meets a critical public service need in central and southern Illinois. The School of Dental Medicine promotes the vision of our university in many ways. The recent expansion of the Advanced Care Wing means more space to educate students, better equipment, better training, and teaching capabilities. That increases our ability to compete with other dental schools in providing the best possible education at the national level. During a recent national accreditation site visit, the school received major recognition. It received 9 commendations and no recommendations for changes, which is a major accomplishment and speaks to the quality of the programs, faculty, and staff we have at the institution. And I'd like at this time to recognize the dean, the faculty, the staff, and the students for that recognition. Congratulations. In conclusion, it can be said, certainly, that the School of Dental Medicine is an integral part of the success of our university, and we're pleased for this opportunity to recognize the many contributions of its founders, those who have supported throughout the years, and indeed the City of Alton. This week we kick off a full year of celebration as we commemorate 50 years of engaging students, faculty, and staff, 50 years of enriching programs and teaching excellence, and 50 years of excitement. We look forward to the coming years with renewed enthusiasm and an appreciation for the past, present, and future significance of the SIU School of Dental Medicine to the residents of Illinois. In closing, I would like to say, go Cougars and go Big E.
Thank you, Chancellor Vandegrift. Thank you, Chancellor Vandegrift. We're very honored to have with us today the Mayor of the City of Alton, the Honorable Donald Sandage, who would like to make a proclamation. Mayor Sandage.
Before I read the proclamation, I'd like to make a few comments. SIU has been a tremendous neighbor in our community, and what they've done to help our underprivileged kids as far as their teeth being taken care of, this school has done an outstanding job. Also, I was one of the 1,200 that came here in July of '57. I didn't complete it here. My friends were being drafted, so I didn't want to go in the Army, and I quit and joined the Marine Corps. But after I got home, I took the GI Bill and went back to college. But I didn't go to SIU, I'm sorry to say. But anytime we've had a problem, you call and it's immediately taken care of, and vice versa. If they have a problem, we take care of it immediately, and just been good neighbors. The outstanding appearance of the campus is another great asset to the city, and what they've done for the museum is unbelievable. And so, I thank you very much for that, and then I'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas Southern Illinois University Alton campus, located in the second largest metropolitan area in the state of Illinois, prepares to celebrate its 50th anniversary at a Founders Day celebration, a celebration of versatility, on September 25, 2007. And whereas students were welcomed on the former Shirtliff College campus for SIU Edwardsville's first classes in the summer of 1957, thus paving the way for the next 50 years of elevating the quality of people's lives and their earning potential in Alton, the River Bend, and the state of Illinois, nationally and internationally. And whereas, chartered in 1969, the SIU School of Dental Medicine graduates were recognized as the second highest performers in the nation on the National Board Dental Examinations by the American Dental Association, placing the school among the top clinical dental schools in the country. And whereas the SIU School of Dental Medicine is the only dental school in Illinois outside of Cook County and the only dental school within 250 miles of the St. Louis metropolitan area. And whereas the SIU School of Dental Medicine graduates roughly 50 students from its programs annually, having conferred more than 1,300 degrees in its history, and boasts a current student body of nearly 200 students. And whereas 72% of SIU School of Dental Medicine graduates practice in Illinois in the St. Louis metropolitan area, providing adequate dental services locally and regionally in spite of a national shortage of dentists. And whereas SIU School of Dental Medicine faculty and students work with area organizations to serve the Riverbend community, having provided approximately $190,000 in free oral health care to nearly 800 low-income and or uninsured area children since the inception of the annual Give Kids a Smile Day in 2004. And whereas the accreditation site visit panel of the American Dental Association, a body that makes accreditation site visits across the nation, recognized the SIU School of Dental Medicine in November 2005 with 9 commendations and no recommendations. And whereas the SIU School of Dental Medicine's graduation class of 2006 recorded the second highest national comprehensive standard scores on the National Board Dental Examinations Part 2. And whereas the values of citizenship, excellence, integrity, openness, and wisdom are instilled in its students, preparing them to be exceptional citizens and leaders following graduations. And now, therefore, I, Donald E. Sandage, Mayor of the City of Alton, Illinois, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, September 25th, 2007, at Southern Illinois University Alton Campus Day in the city of Alton. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the city of Alton, Illinois, to be affixed this 5th day of June 2007. Signed, Donald E. Sandys, Mayor, and Mary T. Bowles, City Clerk. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Sandage. Alton is a very good partner for us, and we're very happy to be located here. To give a short reminiscence about the early times of SIUE and the transition that occurred on the Shurtleff campus, we have with us today Dr. Norm Showers. He's a retired faculty member from Shurtleff College and also a professor emeritus of SIUE. Dr. Showers.
Thank you. Just was reminiscing, 60 years ago, I was last on this podium for an official thing. They were introducing the football team for our homecoming game. Came my turn to come across, and the coach looked over, it was right over here, he says, I don't remember his name. Says he's been injured so long I forgot. Had a knee injury. But I did get into the homecoming game, and we won that thing 28-0 over Illinois College. That's a whole other story a long time ago. I'd like to introduce my wife down here, Norma. Can you stand up? She's coming off a hip trouble, but now the campus here goes back to 1832, but the whole idea went back to 1827 when John Mason Peck started what he called Rock Spring Seminary down near O'Fallon, Illinois, in that area, and then moved up here. There's a historic plaque right across the street there with some more information for you historians, and you ought to take a look at it. Loomis Hall is mentioned as 175 years old. Shurtleff ceased to exist after 130 years, in 1957. Abraham Lincoln actually defended a student on this campus. Thank you. Hey, I'm gaining. He actually defended a student who did something wrong, and I heard it was the son of the mayor of St. Louis, but I'm not quite sure. But how it turned out, we don't know, because then he got involved with the Lincoln-Douglas debates and then the presidency, and this was left alone. That little piece blurb was in the board minutes that I just happened to be looking through, and they're now up in Springfield. Also, there's some thought that in the basement of the Loomis Hall was possibly part of the Underground Railway system. For those of you who don't know it, this big stone building just a block down the street is one of the known Underground Railway parts. This building here was built in 1940. 1939, there was a wooden structure here that became a little bit of everything, including a dorm. It was built in the late 1860s, a 40-room place. It was supposed to be a dormitory, and each room had its own fireplace. Now they didn't say anything about the outhouse, so I'm not sure about that. And I'm not even sure the fellow might have been related to my wife's family, since they had the same last names in there. Now the last graduating class for Shurtleff College was in 1957 in June, but the last graduates of Shurtleff College occurred because we had a little partnership with SIU, ARC, SIU Carbondale. In the spring of 1957, we were having a faculty meeting, and somehow a thought went through my mind. And I said, I propose that we keep the campus open on paper for at least a year and let any student who wishes to get there hang on. But who wishes to get their degree from Shurtleff to do that. There were 28 who did that. And I think that was even bigger than the graduating class of 57, or pretty close to it. Myself was graduated in 1950. The archway over by the library says that. I was showing one of our new faculty members around in 1957 or thereabouts, and he looked up at that and said, "Boy, that is really well preserved." And I said, "Well, yeah, why?" He said, "Well, looky there, 1850. I said, "No, that means 1950, my class put that up there." Somebody left off the 19. But I was a math instructor for Shurtleff and also PE, intramural coach, a little bit of everything. But talking with one of our students who came that first year, tuition was a tremendous $62.50 a quarter, okay? He couldn't afford to go. He was playing some basketball in our great gymnasium over here, and our coach at that time, Howard Nesbitt, who came in 58, saw him and said, "You play basketball? Do you go here?" "Nope, can't afford it." He said, "How about a scholarship?" So, $22 a quarter, he went to school. He told me it cost him less than $500 for 4 years. He's retired as a engineer and such since then. Another total, we have our Dean of Students here. Our Dean of Students that year was Dr. Howard Davis, and we were meeting in the chapel building, as we call it then, and for the new students. And he was telling a joke about a football player sitting in a class. He'd fallen asleep. Professor called on him. The guy says, "What? Oh, what do you think, Professor?" Professor said, "Son, I don't think, I know." The kid said, "I'm with you, Prof. I don't think I know either." Now, the guy's name for the story was Wisnowski. Remember the Wisnowski twins? Yes. We had the Wisnowski twins who were football players, and they were in the back end, and I was sitting right behind them. Dr. Davis didn't know that the Wisnowskis were there, and he was just making up that Wisnowski bit. But it's kind of interesting. A couple events occurred that fall. On October the 4th, just coming up, anybody remember what happened on October 4th, 1957? Ooh. Sputnik. So that's why he's chancellor. There you go. Now, on October 4th, 1957, Sputnik went up. Later on, we put one up, and one of our students said, "I think I'll die if it doesn't work." So he was taken back. Also, on the 5th of that month in October, we had our third son born. He was the first child born of our SIU faculty that year, and to start with, and boy, did that start a whole revolution of little kids. Now, there's a little medical part. He's Down syndrome. At that time, Down syndrome had 47 chromosomes. We mortals had 48, 24 pairs. Uh-oh. Right then, they found out somehow that we mortals only had 46, 23 pairs. I upstaged you there. Now, you take that, all those years, all that happened. I told a doctor friend of mine, I said, "I think I figured out about what happened." Somebody looking through the microscope, nothing in nature goes 23. You know that? It's always multiples of 2. And I said, "I think they just figured it had to be 24, not 23. And he said, "Probably right, might have been." That's about some things like that happen. Also, on the campus here that year, the girls really enjoyed it. We had about 3 times as many fellas as there were women. Now it's reversed, I think, isn't it? That 60-40? So it's changed somewhat. Dr. Delight Morris, who really started all this whole thing, as he met with the faculty, he says, "This is going to be an interesting year. The next year he said, this is going to be an interesting year. The next year he said, this is going to be an interesting year. I don't know if you're saying this is going to be an interesting year, but every year was really interesting. They only funded us to start with for really about a quarter. And at that time, the presidents of the universities and colleges in Illinois, the state supported, went to Springfield and lobbied for their own school. He was a good communicator and did it. And before he even had the money, he told us, he said, I hope you'll stay around and help us open up in the fall. Can't give you a contract yet, don't have any money. So some of us stayed. This wasn't too far after World War II. This nice brick building over on Annex Street, that used to be a military single-story house. When the dental school came in, I think they spent $1 million to renovate that free building because the state wouldn't allow us to build new buildings, but that's pretty good, still stays around. We had lots of silver paint. Our maintenance people started painting. Everything they could paint was silver, which isn't too bad. It reflects light. It also reflects sound. Underneath the men's restroom in this building, there were two restrooms, one for faculty, one for men. Underneath there was a room. We utilized that. I taught health in there. I taught math. I taught about everything. We had English classes. Dr. Duncan, who was one of our English professors at the time, he said, I finally think I figured out how to teach in that room. What you do is you have two classes just alike. The first hour you lecture, the second hour you sit and listen to the vibrations as they bounce around, which they did. But it's kind of interesting. I got a phone call over in the gym. I always answered it, gymnasium showers. Well, obviously, showers. And there was a pause at the other end and a hem-haw, and this fellow says, well, how'd I get this shower room? I was wanting somebody on the faculty over there. So the kids, Don, I had in school and junior high, and I'm sure they went with a lot of names too. Sprinkle was usually the most one that they did. There's a picture right over here of me. You don't have to look at it, but it includes Merv Carruthers, who's getting an award for being the intramural player of the year. I had an intramural program that we awarded letters, varsity letters, if you participated all year long. Now, nothing unusual about that, maybe. I copied it from the fellow up at Blackburn, his program, and I liked it, so I adjusted it a bit. But on the program with giving the awards out, we had tackle football because we inherited all of Shirtlift College's old football gear. As far as I know, besides Annapolis and West Point, we were the only college in the States who had tackle football. We had people who actually stayed on this campus so they could play tackle football in intramurals and also work and stay at home. One of your good friends is that way. Now, all of our faculty did multiple tasks around this place. Our maintenance people did all kinds of things. You just got on the phone and you called and they could do it. Now it's a little bit more. But we'd also like for you to take a tour of the museum that's over here. We're set up for that, and you're welcome to come through it. There's something about Shirtlift, Western Military, all kinds of things, the Underground Railway, and you take it and go from there. I think that's enough, and thank you for being here and enjoyed it.
Thank you, Dr. Showers. Thank you all very much for attending. I think there are a few members of the 50th Anniversary Planning Committee for our campus. I know Stephen Schaus is one, and I don't see him anymore, but I want to acknowledge his efforts. Oh, he's over standing up posters. Because after days of nothing, the wind is blowing. Please enjoy the photographic walking tour. It starts with number 1 right here and goes around. And inside your programs are the little pieces of text that explain each of the photos, and I think you'll find it's quite interesting. And you may recognize some people in their youth in those photos. And also be sure to stop, as Dr. Schauer said, at the Alton Museum of History and Art, which is open today especially for us with no entrance fee. And then we have 50th anniversary cake just inside the lobby, which we invite you all to come in and have some cake and punch with us as well. And that will conclude the formal part of our ceremony. I thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoy the display and the cake. Thanks. And it didn't rain.